Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of I Don't Believe in Side Quests. I'm Gabe,
And I'm Lauren.
and we're going to be going over, kind of like reviewing and just discussing the new Sherlock Holmes game, Awakened. The Awakened. It is,
The
I think it
the
was The
Awakened,
Awakened,
yeah,
yeah.
I think so.
And it was a remake of the original. But before we do that, catch up on the week. Honestly, I'll just say I have nothing to say other than this was like probably one of the longest weeks of my career. And I really wanted to cry and have a breakdown.
Oh no.
It's been bad. It's been bad. It's like we went back to the beginning of the year and but like not in a good way. Like they're not listening
Okay.
at all. Kind of overall, not just like a few, but like overall.
Mm-hmm.
And just crazy and wild, and like it's like we're pretending we don't know what the rules are of the classroom anymore. And we've had two become extra, I don't want to say problematics because they're not problems,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just, they're disrupting the class and causing issues. And we had another really bad poop accident.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
no.
And it's the same one who keeps having these accidents, and it's like not because she's sick, which is really frustrating, but it
And
is
it's
what it
bug
is.
week.
It is bug week. This week and next week is creepy crawlies. So we learned about the ladybug, bumblebees, ants, and caterpillars, or like butterflies.
And you have a lot of flowers
So
up.
we do have a lot of flowers. Well, it's the flower shop to go with the bugs. They're obsessed. Oh man, one of them. Okay, they make a huge mess in the dramatic play, but they're usually pretty good about cleaning it up. Like when we tell them they have to clean it up, they're like, okay, whatever.
Such drama.
It is. And one of our really small ones was like, I'm tired. My arms are tired. I can't clean it up. Or like, I can't help clean it up. And we were like, then maybe next time you shouldn't make so big of a mess if you're going to get tired and clean it up. So she went over in there and started crying while she's cleaning up. So she's like,
No.
I was like, oh boy.
Oh no, little one.
And it's not like the stuff is heavy too, so her being like my arms are tired. Like it's just fake flowers.
Yeah.
And like plastic vases and stuff. Like it's not heavy. No, it's just like, ugh, bless you.
I always wonder where those
But she
kids
has
pick those up.
Yeah. Well, she has 5 siblings. So maybe that's why. And like her face, she's so cute when she cries. She's like the epitome of like crocodile tears, like just the like really big eyes and like
Is she the baby
I can't.
of the family?
And there's one more after her. Yeah. So there's, I think it's 7 total. Yeah. It's 6 or 7. Yeah.
Yikes. Yikes. My uncle is 9.
Oh, yeah? Well, my mom comes from 12, so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Did you whisper that?
Mm-hmm.
It looked like you just mouthed it. Like you couldn't even speak the words.
I was.
In case they affected you.
Shook it.
Yeah. My oldest cousin is the same age as my mom's youngest sister.
Yeah, that's not.
I think she's 55.
That's not shocking in families like that with that many kids because there is going to be just such an age gap.
Yeah. Yeah, the oldest is like 55 or something like that. And the youngest is I think he's in middle school now, maybe. And then that's like not even including our second cousins or whatever you call
Yeah.
the kids of your cousins. So
Kids of your cousins are going to
it's
be
big.
once removed.
Why are they once removed?
It's a generation removed from yours. I was just having this conversation at Easter. So, yeah. So
I'm just calling them second
your
cousins. That just sounds
cousins,
awful when you're like they're once
your
removed.
cousin's cousin, so like far out from you, from like, you know, if you share a grandparent or you share a great grandparent or whatever, that's like first generation, second generation, etc. And then removed is either a generation like above or below your generation, because it's just like, oh yeah,
I
it's my
see what you're
cousin's.
saying because they're the fourth generation from my grandma. I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
because like
mm-hmm.
yeah, they get to know their great grandma. That's so crazy to me sometimes.
Yeah, so that's your second cousin, for example. Yeah.
Right, right. That's wild.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was pretty much today. It was a long day. It wasn't bad. It was just long. After a long week, it felt so long. I'm ready to go home. But the aftercare was there really late, so I
Mm-hmm.
was there late and I was like on a Friday, who leaves their kids there forever on a Friday? That's so crazy to me, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you do?
I just, I don't know. Work was just taking a lot out of me this week. I think I'm just working on like a lot of creative projects that aren't
Mm.
like quick to close or quick to finish up. And so it's just like a lot of drafting and then trying to um, make it creative and look pretty and look nice, and then get feedback on it, and then redo it in kind of a different.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like a lot of like cyclical work, and
Oh
so that just
yes.
like is exhausting because it just doesn't end. And anytime you're like, great, I think I've got it done, then somebody else comes back and they're like, well, actually, you want it a little bit different, and so then you have to add that back in. And if we have, you know, several different things that are all using that template, then you have to go and remake all of them. And so it's just like a lot of just going back and like redoing things we had already done. And so I just feel like I
Mm-hmm.
haven't done anything,
Oh yeah,
but
because
I
like you're
have been
not
working.
progressing.
Exactly.
Like you are progressing, but it doesn't feel like you are because you're just stuck in the cycle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That would drive me bananas.
Yeah. We usually record on Tuesdays. So usually we're like, you know, have done a couple days of work and we're like, great, stuff's going
Rejuvenated still
well.
from the
And
weekend.
this is Friday, and so we're just both zombies.
Brains. I'm so glad you added the her interactive stuff because literally before like two minutes before you joined, I'd seen the one of their tweets and I was like, should we bring this up? It's just crazy. Yeah, so I'll just read the bullet points that you put because I think you're more caught up to it than I am. I just look when I get the notification. Oh, so okay, what I can talk about, what I did see was I saw the video of
Mm-hmm.
the barista mini game,
Mm-hmm.
the development and test image of the coffee bar. Okay, so I think that's what I just watched right now before you
Yeah, they
joined.
posted that
And that
today.
yeah, that was super interesting. And did you see all like the syrups and stuff? Like she's gone full on Starbucks, okay? It was wild. And then I was thinking like, have we ever done coffee before? Because I feel like I don't know why I feel like we have, but I don't think we've ever actually done coffee. It was just like, have we done drinks? Oh, you know what I'm probably thinking of? It's
Malloy,
the Irish one.
Castle Malloy.
Yeah. Yeah, we do the drinks. I actually really liked that. I liked making those drinks.
And we've done the sorbet things in Danger by Design.
True. That's
But
true.
yeah, we haven't done like latte art because Her Interactive has been showing us kind of game environments of like development and test images. And so we've
Hmm.
seen some kind of settings, and then they had a uh, hint the other day that spelled out barista, So we kind of like knew like barista, coffee bar. We knew those pieces were coming in. We still don't know like
But this just
where
totally
we are.
confirmed it. True. That's true.
Yeah, but we know that a coffee bar and doing like latte art and like creating
Because that's not going to get abused.
coffee drinks. Oh, I know. I don't know if you saw, but like LA Candy La Candygram and Ruby were talking about drawing dicks with latte art.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, ladies.
I knew that was the first thing people would think to do. And all I could think was just real creative. Like, oh my goodness.
So, but by the time you guys hear this, it's going to be after April 28th. And April 28th, as we've mentioned before, is Nancy Drew's birthday. It's
Birthday.
the date that
Like the character
first arrived on the scene back in 1929. Yeah, because I think it's her 93rd birthday or something like that. So we'll catch up with you in 7 years on her 100th. 6 years? 6 years on her 100th. It's going to be crazy. Yeah, so we've seen some development test images. We've seen the barista place. So that does show that the game is further along. Because remember, the last like tangible thing they told us was that they officially are working on a new game. But since they have these development test images, are able to show like, the basics of doing coffee things, the game is a lot further. They haven't like just started.
Well, it's not like Salem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they first announced Salem, there was nothing that they had really done for it. Because we didn't even get a trailer like we have before in previous games. It was just, I think, the name of the next game, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they haven't even told us the name of this game.
That's true.
So.
Maybe for the better.
I know. We'll see. But if they start putting out like character models, like if they get Deirdre going on, they keep being like, you never know who's going to show up. Which.
Oh, I know, right?
Okay. Great. Can't wait to find out. Don't know what that means.
I'm feeling a spring 20. No, not as. I guess. Well, it's technically spring, but like first quarter 2024. If they keep it up like this and it's really that far along, that's what I'm feeling for a release.
Yeah.
If it comes out sooner than that, I'll be shooketh.
Yeah. Agreed. Hopefully on the 28th, they'll be like, next April, Nancy's coming, or something like that.
April 28th, 2024. We get.
April 28th, name of the 7 keys or whatever. So, based on the game environment, I'm thinking she's at a university. It looks collegiate to me. In Europe, sure. But like it looks kind of like old school collegiate.
It definitely gave me Europe vibes.
Or like a museum.
Yeah. Oh, a museum would be fun.
There's something academic about it. I hope that we get Professor Hotchkiss back. That's my hope.
Oh my gosh, I love Hotchkiss.
That's my dream. That we would get Hotchkiss back and be like her little intern or something.
I also hope we get a Sunny June.
Oh, a return.
Reference.
Oh, just a reference?
Because it's... Oh, no, but you know what I mean. Like, not maybe the character, but you know how we always get his notes and stuff? Or that. Like, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Or if he did return, I mean, I wouldn't be upset about that either. Because I don't think...
I want there to be allusions to like him and Bess hanging out, and Bess and George to be like teasing Bess about like Sunny June. That would just be so fun.
Yes.
I want Bess to have a little romance. She is the romance girly of the trio. She's the one who's like a little boy crazy and like girly and whatever. I just want her to find love. That's what she deserves. They all deserve to find love, but like
honestly, it's been 34 games. Can she have some love? I feel like after 34 games, that should be possible.
Yeah, totally.
I was just trying to think if we've seen anything about Sunny June since the Medallion one, because isn't that the one he's in? Right? It's because it's New Zealand. Is it called Medallion?
Shattered Medallion.
The
Yep.
whatever. Yeah, Shattered Medallion. I don't think we have anything from him after that. Yeah, he hasn't been since 30. So that's 3 games without him. I think he's, it's time for a game where he's back.
Right.
I did love that they finally introduced us to him. I thought that was really clever. I actually really enjoyed Shadow Medallion.
You and Abby. Yeah.
You didn't like that one?
I
felt like it moved plot, like overall plot. I felt like that's what I liked about it.
tied up loose ends.
Mm-hmm. Or like actually getting to meet Sunny June.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking to him face to face, and then the stuff with Best and all of that. Like I felt like there was actual like overarching plot movement, because some games that doesn't happen, which is totally fine.
But yeah, like Tomb of the
But
Lost Queen was super Sunny heavy as well, because that
mm-hmm.
one woman kept being like, "Oh yeah, the aliens this, the aliens this," and then being like, "Well, I'm part of Sunny June's like cult." Don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
And then and that was 2012, and then Shattered Medallion came out in 2014. So
right. Well, and if you think about it, so the first time we but heard of Sunny June was Scarlet Hand, and that's like number 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think number 4 or 5. It's super early on.
6.
Oh, 6. Okay, I was really close. I mean, you gotta give you some props there. That was pretty good.
I keep forgetting Haunted Mansion came out before Royal Tower.
I get that one mixed up too. In my scrapbook that I did for the Nancy Drew, I have them flipped.
Logically, that makes sense in my brain. Royal Tower, then Haunted Mansion, then Final Scene, then Scarlet Hand. That's the order. Yeah. That's how they go.
I feel that, honestly. I feel that.
Okay, in my defense.
Mm-hmm.
No, reversed. Take it back. I take it back. I'm just looking at release dates, because Message in a Haunted Mansion was released in November of 2000, and then it was like, and that was for Windows, and then they released it for GBA in November of 2001, and then Treasure in the Royal Tower was released in August 2001. So I was like, oh, well, Message in a Haunted... Anyway, doesn't matter.
I don't even remember what is Message in a Haunted Mansion. What's the one with the dragons? That's the Royal Tower, right? The dragons.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Haunted Mansion is the one with the dragons.
What?
What dragons? Where you have to find all the Chinese symbols in the house?
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion.
Oh, but then what's Royal Tower?
That's French. Marie Antoinette. That's where we meet.
Oh, yeah. I remember the final puzzle.
Professor Hotchkiss.
Yeah, I remember the final puzzle is the staircase. Or it's not the final puzzle, but yes, okay. Yes. Oh,
Haunted Mansion is the one in San
I really
Francisco.
like Haunted Mansion. That's right. I loved Haunted Mansion. I feel like it flowed really well.
Yeah.
One of their better games.
Yeah.
I did also really like Royal Tower too.
I felt like the early games...
Haunted Mansion was very cohesive.
That's the thing. It's very cohesive. They came in with one game plan, didn't get distracted, allowed you the flexibility to like wander around and do different things, but at the same time, it was just like, okay, well, you still need to like migrate around these corners and whatever, and there were like ghosty things going on, and there was some element of like spookiness, but at the same time, you're like doing the story, you're just meeting and having just normal conversations with people, and then learning at the same time. But yeah, the storyline was like, it was simple. It wasn't super complex. Who's going to steal a diamond? Why are there so many issues and sabotage related activities happening in the house? Like that's the core piece. And then you're going through acting like a detective, just kind of like breaking into a little room or doing whatever and just finding out what's going on. Like, it's not a huge
Because
big
obviously
plot.
detectives just break into rooms.
Um,
I love that's how you're being a
that's
detective. You
Nancy
break into
Drew
a room
style.
and it's I know, but it was just like that was the first thing.
Amateur detectives, that's all that they do.
Ouch.
They just sneak around and
True.
break into things that they're not supposed to be in.
Bless. Speaking of detectives, we both I'm ready to I think we shift. I feel like that's the great,
Yeah, so we've been talking about some heavy topics recently. So we wanted to play and talk about a game that we thought would be lighter fare. We may have erred slightly.
That's egregious. Oh my lanta. So like I said, we both played Sherlock Holmes The Awakened.
The
This is a remake.
remake, yes.
Is it a remake or a remaster? What's the
So
difference? That's
they I can answer this. They remastered the game. Okay, so the original game came out in 2007. They did a
right.
remaster of it that came out in 2008 because the 2007 version only had first person, which sounds
Oof.
terrifying. So they like took that same game and like allowed it to, you could choose a third person option, so you didn't have to be
Oh,
first
first
person in
person.
all of this. But so the remaster is just like taking the game more or less as it is and then making some
Hmm.
smaller adjustments or some quality of life adjustments or whatever. And that's kind of like a remaster versus a remake, is saying, all right, we're going to start from scratch and rebuild the whole thing using our new engine, our new graphics, whatever.
Okay, so it's not an exact copy of the original, but it's similar.
Yeah, I think the storyline is
Yeah,
fairly identical in regards to like
right.
what happens, but then the
Hmm.
puzzles and the graphics and the music and the art and a lot of those other pieces, like the
Right.
atmosphere and everything, is updated with modern um,
Yeah.
engineering.
Knowing that it was Lovecraftian and Cthulhu, maybe I should have expected it to be dark, but I didn't expect it to be as dark as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I I made note of all the places we went because I was like, this is crazy. And all the different things that happen. So you start in London, and your first depressing thing you run into, if you explore, is there's a dead labor children puzzle. Oh, you know why? I think it's because I also had the DLC. Okay, this is the other thing. I
Oh.
bought the deluxe version, I think. So I have the DLC. So this might be a DLC quest, and maybe that's why you give me a look like you had no idea what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, well, you basically find these dolls, and they're representation of these labor children, and it's
I don't
the
do
final.
dolls, so like I'm super glad I missed this.
Well, you find the dolls, and then you put them in these little scenes, and then that opens the key, and you use the key to open this big cupboard. And you find that the three dolls you found, those labor children that they're representing, all died because of where they were working and stuff. And so the last child to survive, the fourth one, was like, I can't do this anymore. And like they'd been doing puzzles and treasure hunts to keep the other labor children happy and excited, but she was like, this is my last puzzle, my dears. And she basically went and yeah, is no more. And it was so sad. So that was how chapter one started for me. And I was like, oh boy. And that was just a side. That wasn't even the main.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the main was equally kind of as sad. You have the servant get
Okay.
kidnapped.
So
I should just say disclaimer, major spoilers. I'm not afraid to talk about everything that happened.
The game came out in 2007, so if you didn't play it, okay. But okay, so did you have chapter 1 with the flower seller?
The flower seller?
Okay, so if you don't have the DLC, chapter 1 for you starts out with Sherlock is just like, "Where's my newspaper?" And and Watson is just like, "Sherlock, I have a case
Wait,
for
do you mean
you."
a lady who sells flowers? Is that
Yes.
what you mean? I was thinking a seller, like a CELLAR
Oh.
for some reason. And I was like, what do you mean a flower
No, the person
seller?
who sells
Yes, I
flowers
know what you're talking
to
about.
the
Go ahead,
book
though.
owner
Yeah.
or the bookseller.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you played that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's part of the main story.
Yeah. That's chapter
Yeah.
1.
I was, yes, that's what I was saying. Is there's that, but yeah, there's that part, but then there's also but that part's not depressing. That's happy. I was going to get to that. That was like the only happy thing in the story is that you could save his love life. You could save the library dude. He's not a library dude. He's a bookseller. And like match him with the love of his life, and like the dogs love each other and everything. I also assume that there's a possibility that you don't. It kind of seems like
Yeah.
at the end, like maybe you might not have helped him. Were you brutally honest with him? Because that's pretty much kind of what I chose. I felt like my response was very brutally honest, and like I told him to like grow a pair and go to
I was going to
talk to
say
her
nut up
and
and
tell her
talk to
how he
her.
feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much how that went.
Yeah, and it worked, and then they are in love.
And their dogs are in love.
Oh, I forgot what that's. I forgot the second. I was just like, oh, he has a second dog now. This is cute. I forgot it was
No,
her
that's her
dog.
dog. He got a dog to go see her at the dog park so their dogs would hang
This
out.
game took me 11 hours, which I did over like 4 days. So like I have no idea what happened at the beginning of this game.
That's okay. I do. I wrote it down. So that was that. Okay. Then chapter 2. So you start out. So what the whole point of the newspaper, like what you were talking about, is it tells us that there is an explosion at the port of London, and it was saltpeter. I think that's how you say it, and that's used to make gunpowder, which is why it was a huge explosion. So in chapter 2, okay, wait. So this is what leads you to chapter 2 is the Maori servant has been kidnapped, and it seems like it was by a sailor, which is what takes us to the port of London where the saltpeter accident happened. Okay, so this means, oh, this is so tragic for you. Okay, so in chapter 2, there's this haunted house thing, and it was a warehouse that people thought were haunted. And it was really these, I don't really remember why, but there's these, okay, I do remember why. There are these people in the warehouse, and they made it seem haunted. It was like this whole setup
The
for
DLC
like,
is
to make it seem like,
huge.
yeah, I added a ton of side quests. It was like 6 side quests.
Okay,
that
carry on.
that weren't necessary, but were kind of, I actually enjoyed them. They're fun. I think there's 2 side quests. So there's the haunted house, and it's this whole setup of like a grim reaper with coffins and his thing, and he's got like a sight, or maybe he doesn't. And they use like a boot and like phosphorescent and made footprints like going up the wall and then on the ceiling, like someone was walking there, and just all this stuff. And that was, I don't know. I don't know why I had to talk about it, but I feel like you would have enjoyed it and appreciated it, so I'm sorry.
I love a little spookiness.
Yeah, and then because then you can tell the people either that it is haunted or it's not haunted.
What did you say?
I said it's not because I feel like that's true to Sherlock. I was trying to be, I know, but me, I would have been like, yeah, it's so haunted. Like,
So
you shouldn't go
haunted.
in there. Well,
I love a haunted house.
sometimes, especially for our first playthrough, I try to choose and be like, if the character's like a really defined character, I try to be true to the character.
Yeah, you can do a chaos run later. We just make all the wrong
Exactly. I can
choices.
do a chaos run or maybe a more true to me
Hmm.
character. Okay, but so chapter 2, this is why chapter 2 is depressing. Dead altar people. That's what I wrote down. There was dead people on the altar. Do you remember? You can talk about how we got to the altar in the first place, but that's where it inevitably ends up. You don't remember. Okay, so we essentially have to track down this
Oh,
one guy. In the end, it's this guy with like a metal eye, and we're trying to track him down,
okay.
and it leads to one of the
Hold on. We got to go
warehouses.
back. So,
You go ahead.
just so you all are tracking on this. So, the servant.
Wait, before you do it, did you? Sorry, no, because I just realized another side quest. I remembered another side quest, chapter 2. Did you have to help people being killed by the water, by the stream water being poisoned? Okay, the other side quest you had to do is this company was like chemicals were ending up in the stream and it was coming down the stream, and these labor people, I don't know what they were doing, but they used the stream water to drink and it was killing them and killing the fish. And so you could like prove all this and then go hound this person and be like, I'm going to bring this to the authorities if you don't take care of it. And they're like, okay. All right, now go for the main story.
So, the servant kidnapped by a sailor. So, we go
Mm-hmm.
to the port and apparently go on a whole bunch of side quests, which I was not privy to. But we find out basically that other people around the port have gone missing. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to like track down the people who are responsible for this. And in that journey, we find out, as Gabe was saying, that it's some guy with a metal eye. And so we find out what warehouse he's been taking people to. And all along the way, we've been seeing big paintings, big spooky paintings of like
Oh, yeah, you can find
rocks.
Cthulhu paintings.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, one Cthulhu painting in each chapter. I found one in chapter 1, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. And so you're finding like little Cthulhu marks or like the paintings or the coins or the. So you're just getting this sense of foreboding and spookiness and eeriness. And you go into this warehouse and are running around and all the meanwhile, like this Holmes game is full of puzzles. So you get to do all of these little puzzles to unlock doors or figure out how to open this chamber. And so Sherlock is like, hey, Watson, wait up at the top of the stairs for me. I'm going to go down, and walks down the stairs. And then we have an episode.
It's the Descent to Madness. It's the classic Cthulhu. If you ever know anything has Cthulhu in it, you know you're just going to descend into madness.
Straight
And each of
spiral
those
down.
episodes,
Just
it is, it is. But those, okay, I have to say, since we're also reviewing it, those points of the game, were some of my favorite. Like I thought they were so well done. And so, okay, personally, I didn't really feel like this game really had puzzles. Like they were too straightforward. They didn't feel like puzzles to me. I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to go for, but like, if we can't figure out we need a freaking crank wheel to to lift this up, I mean, you might feel ours. That's totally valid. But those I felt more were like the most puzzles of the entire game, and where you really had to think and be
mm-hmm.
like, okay, how do I get through this? Because it's not logical.
So
It is logical, but not logical.
set the scene for
Go ahead.
everyone.
I don't know how to set the scene.
So
It just felt like a descent into
there's
madness.
a descent into madness.
You're in rocks, floating rocks.
So there's
I
just
think.
green, misty light everywhere. You're in this
True.
area full of all these wet rocks, and there's just
Yeah.
green light everywhere, and you are trying to find your way out. And so you're running this way and that, trying to find all of the little nooks and crannies and pieces that you can push or walk into or fall off of to move you on to the next area. And so at one point you have to like drop through a mouth, a big creepy scary mouth to get down to a lower
Oh
area.
yeah. The first one you literally jump off of the ledge just into the abyss, and then the second one, yeah, you jump into the mouth of the creature. Forgot about that.
Yeah, so you jump in the mouth of this. It's truly just like a mouth in a hole in the rocks. And you just jump and it's full of just all of these teeth. And you jump through it
Well,
and
it's
then
circular.
yeah,
Yeah.
you jump through it, you
That's
find
right.
yourself down at this new part and you the game so there are kind of a couple different buttons you can press to see the game in different ways. There's something you press that kind of gives you like I don't know how to describe it, but a special
If you press
vision.
Z, it highlights. Yeah, that's Q. So if you press Z, Z highlights nearby interactable things within a certain radius. And then your Q, right, it puts you in, it's not really a trance, but it's like a, what did they call it? They called it like concentration, is what they called it, where he's just really super focused, I guess. And there's like little blurbs and you'll like look at it and it gives you like 3 words
So you look at a
typically.
pot or a pool of blood, and it will say, "Ooh, this is fresh, and this is, not enough to be from a lethal stabbing or something." So it kind of allows you to understand what Sherlock is deducing while he's
Hmm.
in this
When he
mode
looks at that.
that you can't see just
Hmm.
like with your normal eyes. And so you have to kind of cycle between this special concentration mode and normal mode to be able to do a lot of these puzzles. And so you have to like look at them with your normal eyes and then look at them with your concentration eyes and like go back and turn around and do all of these different things to see from a bunch of different perspectives how to solve these puzzles. And so that's just so interesting that it is not so straightforward and it does just require you to use a lot of critical thinking.
Hmm. And sometimes a lot of it I felt like you were doing the opposite of what it seemed like it was telling you to do
Totally.
or what you think you should do. I like the concept of having to walk backwards into the door because like if you're looking at the door is like, ooh, spooky. I'm gonna stay closed. But if you're not looking at me, then I can open because surely you're not gonna walk backwards into me.
There was this one point where you had to just like, you couldn't run at the door, you had to walk really, really
Oh yeah,
slowly.
just walk.
I could not that part took me so long to figure out because I could not figure out how to walk slow enough so that it wouldn't close because you have to like press control or something as you walk to like really slow down. I don't know.
I didn't have to do that. I just walked normally. I just didn't hit shift. I didn't run.
I tried walking normally and it was not working for me and it was making me crazy.
Interesting. I didn't even know you could walk slower than how you walked. That's crazy.
So that part drove
Did
me
you
nuts.
find Did you know you had to walk right away? Did you find the clue on the ground that he made a comment that someone was walking?
Taking really small steps,
Yeah.
kind of like tiptoeing
That's
along. Boop, 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 boop.
hmm. That's really interesting
I mean, I think
that
I
you
had
had
to
to.
press control. I don't remember. It took me forever because I could not figure out how to walk slowly. And I like
I was gonna say
knew
I'm
conceptually
surprised.
what I had to do, but I just couldn't figure
Right.
out how to do it.
Yeah. How to do it. I was surprised you said it took you 11 hours because it took me 11 to 12 hours and I had all the extra side quests and I felt like I was slow.
That's how long I was playing the
Not saying
game.
that you were slow.
I know I walked away from it at multiple times and it was still going to like do things in my house. So
Fair.
I don't
Yeah.
think I was actively playing that whole time, but that's how much gameplay time my Steam
Steam says.
shows.
Yeah. That's fair. Well, when you make it through the descent to madness and Watson comes and knocks you out of it, you find a dead man on the altar.
But
I was.
Holmes is never the same after that descent to madness.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Although it kind of seemed like stuff was maybe starting in chapter 1. Like he seemed not. No, maybe not. I don't know. But that's true. Yeah, he was not the same after that. Since I'm talking about the depressing stuff, that's the depressing thing of that. You find a dead body, and like all this blood. Actually, did you find multiple dead bodies? I know you found the one on the altar.
You find the one on the altar. I don't think you find any other bodies because everyone else was packaged up.
Oh yeah, that's right. You find out that that everyone's been packaged and shipped somewhere.
In like big wooden. So they weren't coffins. They were just wooden shipping containers. Wow.
But there was blood everywhere. So there was, at the very least hints of terrible things happening. Oh, but I did think they had a spotlight on the devs because if you went down into the little cubby, there was all these photos, which would be like maybe the people they were scouting out. But let's be real, they were all the game makers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
But the body
so from that we
is
figure
full
out
of eels.
It was full of eels?
Yeah, his stomach. Do you not remember the eels just like emerging from his stomach?
I didn't have that happen, I don't think.
Oh, lucky. Anyway, he was a sacrifice to
No, maybe
Cthulhu.
we did. No, maybe we did. I don't know. All I know is I touched the Cthulhu statue 3 times because it kept saying something different. And then it was pissed off and didn't want me to touch it anymore. And I was like, my bad, bro. What?
I did not touch the Cthulhu statue.
Why not?
Or maybe I did probably once to just because it probably told me to touch it, but I did not continue.
It doesn't tell you to touch it.
Oh.
I just wanted to touch everything.
Then I probably
I just touched everything that was interactable. I wanted to stroke Cthulhu's tentacle. Anyways, we basically figure out that the people are being shipped to Edelweiss in Switzerland, as there's an asylum.
The Edelweiss Institute.
Yeah. Why there? I still don't really understand. I kind of struggled to follow the main story. Like, I don't understand how we went from London to Switzerland to New Orleans back to London.
So
I will get to all of the reasons, but like, why Switzerland? Like, I get she was a psycho lady. Sorry, you can set the scene. I'm sorry.
Well, we know to go to Switzerland because we find the flag and we find
No, I know why we knew to go there. What I don't understand is for the bad guys' perspective. That's what I mean. Why were they like, let's send these bodies to Switzerland and then we need them in New Orleans? Oh no, they
don't need them in New Orleans.
Anyways. No, we go to New Orleans because of the gems. Is that why we go there?
Mm-hmm, the opals. And that's where the money for the institute comes from.
Right. That's right. Oh, so, okay, wait. So I think I get it. So they send the bodies to Switzerland. They do the weird, I don't even know, crap to them, which like turns them into the like weird, potentially Cthulhu slaves. And then they send them back to London. And the opal and the money was just that's what's funding them. But I think they were also using the opals in the end chapter thing, right? Is that what is going on?
Yes, because you need obsidian.
It is obsidian.
Yeah, because you use those as part of like the knives and whatever too.
See, now you're confused too. I'm sorry if I confused you, but it's very confusing how it all fits together. And I like collected everything and read everything, and I just couldn't follow.
Okay, so we're at the asylum.
Hmm.
Let's just try to talk through it.
Okay, we're at the asylum.
We're at the asylum, and we know the asylum is spooky scary. And so Holmes
Do you want
sends.
to know the side quest there before you do the main quest?
Yes.
Do you want to know what it
Mm-hmm.
was? Okay. I think it's based off a real thing or something. I think that's what Wolf was telling me. It's called Five Dead Frogs in the Walls. And so you find these five poems about someone who was killing their patients, and they talk about how they were killing them, and they were calling them frogs. And it was something like, this is what separates a human from a frog, implying they were the human and the patients were frogs. Or, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
the patients weren't human and that the humans were superior. And it's all these weird poems about how they killed them and where they hid the body. And it's like five places in that lower asylum section that Sherlock is in. And they're like hidden in the walls. And so you go on a hunt for these five bodies, and then you're like, okay, chill.
I found him. Moving on.
Anyways, I feel like I have to share these with you since you don't know what they were, but they're kind of like all traumatizing. All right, go on to the main story.
I mean, the asylum is horrific, truly.
It really
So
is.
Watson gets sent in to pose as just a doctor who's just interested in what's going on. And then
Mhm.
he didn't tell, or Holmes didn't tell Watson that he was also going to go in uh, pretending to be a man who they know is dead. And so Watson like reacts strongly when Holmes walks in, and the woman in charge of the asylum is just like, noted, suspicious. And
Don't be suspicious.
then basically Watson gets to go off and like be a doctor with her, and Holmes they take into kind of a room where they can look at him and then put like a serum in him and knock him out, and he wakes up and he's in a cell. So he kind of gets
Yes.
captured as like, we'll deal with this later. And then he escapes from his cell and is trying to escape upstairs, but there are guards everywhere, and so he's having to talk to prisoners and create a blow dart with a syringe to knock out guards, and then finds out where all of the boxes filled with people that came over from London. He finds where they were picked
Hmm.
up, and then activities happen where Watson gets him keys and whatnot, and Holmes is able to go down and find out where the boxes of people were unloaded, and then gets to go into this other creepy cavern area where we can see that the people had been like locked up at desks and forced to learn things, where they had been experimented on, where some had been killed, um, just like horrific
The
living
main thing,
conditions.
though, the main thing that was done to them that I think was like the huge thing was they were put in a chair, I think, and forced to listen to this. It was is spoken in the Eldritch language, which is Cthulhu, and it was like a chant. And I think that's what brainwashed them, and what inevitably
Hmm.
why they're like at the end blah, 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 doing their chant.
Well, that
So
and the Edelweiss Institute, the woman who runs it, her whole thing is memory. So she
yeah,
likes to experiment with patients on basically removing traumatic memories from their lives, but she doesn't only remove traumatic memories, she also removes memories of things they don't want to know. Like she took
she
over.
does it in a very unethical way.
Yeah, she took over the institute from somebody who wasn't a fan of what she was trying to
Becker.
do and took his memory away. and just kept him up as just any other prisoner.
By took his memory away, she did 2 brain surgeries on him and cut out sections of his brain. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, that poor man. That was really awful.
Horrible.
And made me so sad.
That shocked me because they show you like pictures of Dr. Becker, and then later you meet a prisoner, and Watson like does things and figures out that he is Dr. Becker. That shocked me because I was not paying attention to those pictures. So when he was just like, "You're Dr. Becker," I was like, "What? What's happening?"
Well, I think he looked quite a bit different because, I mean, he was bald. He had 2 massive head scars, and I mean, he didn't look great. He was definitely not thriving. He was not, I don't even know if you could say surviving, because he was like just not aware of anything. He could talk to you for like
He
a
was
minute
alive.
and then he forgot everything. Yeah. But
That's as much as I can.
I guess it's surviving. He wasn't living. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're an hour in, so
Cool. Anyway, so Holmes finds out where all of the men were hidden and tortured, but they're all gone. So now he's trying to figure out, okay, where do we go next? He's been finding evidence of who's been paying this woman to experiment and again brainwash all of these people, like where the money's coming from. So we follow the money and we're going off to New Orleans.
I will say, sorry, the big thing that really got me about chapter 3, did you have to deal with Heidi and Gerda?
Yes.
The lady with the talking doll. Okay, so genuinely, okay, so there's this like crazy lady and she like had a doll, and at first it seemed like she was trying to do ventriloquism. Like essentially that's what it would be, is ventriloquism. So that it would seem like the doll was talking, but she was probably the one talking. However, it gets a little crazy, a little psycho, and both of them are talking at the same time. And Heidi would definitely sound demonic, and honestly, I would fully believe she was possessed by a demon, the doll, to be completely honest with you. And when you give her the nails and her thought is to use the nails as hair on the doll, I was deceased. I was done. I had to bring them up. I made note of it because I was so disturbed.
It's truly the most terrifying doll. And yeah, and you have to like talk to it, and she just is so terrifying. And then
it's just like, if you don't entertain me enough, I might kill you. And like, honestly, I kind of believed it. Even though she was locked behind a cell door, I totally fully believed that if I did not entertain her enough, this doll would try and kill me. Truly, for me, the most scary part of the whole game.
Totally.
Freakiest part of the whole game.
Totally. That doll, so scary. And then at the end of the scene, when Holmes comes back up into the main asylum, we come up and the evil lady who's been running the institute has been murdered. There is a pen all the way through her eye, poking into her brain, and the doll is on the desk. So
yeah.
Gerda and the doll murdered her, and then Gerda ran.
Maybe Gerda's the one possessed. All I know is
Gerda, and then we like hear that Gerda had like escaped or like was on the loose or something like that. The doll was on the desk, the woman was murdered, and we just leave. We are not involved in that.
Scared.
We do not have like any solving that we have to do in our little mind palace. There's not like, we truly just get to be like, doll's on the desk, the woman's been murdered. Anyway, we're gonna go follow the money and go to New Orleans. And we dip.
Yes. Right. So we go to New Orleans, following the money. Do you want to know what my notes are? My notes are voodoo ?
Okay.
Lucy and Champagne. Those are both characters, right?
Correct.
I know Lucy was. Oh yeah, Champagne. Yeah, okay. Okay, the side quest was wanted posters. You had to hunt down 10 wanted posters, which were based off of, I think, actual like bad guys. Because I think I recognized a couple of them
That's so fun.
that were pretty funny. And I wrote down corrupt sheriff and husband dying.
Yeah, the
Oh my
sheriff.
gosh.
So we show up to New Orleans. There's a corrupt sheriff. He does not want us in town because he knows why we're there.
No.
We go to the house where we find out that the gemstones that we knew, the sale of the gemstones were funding the asylum.
Auction house.
Yeah, so we find out from the auction house who owned the jewels. And we go to that house and it's a murder house. Like, they're dead bodies.
Go ahead.
Oh, also, actually, the main thing in chapter 4 that I wanted to talk about is just like when we're traveling to New Orleans, Sherlock reveals that his mother was treated in an asylum, and it like broke her mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, lore.
Yeah, it's so tragic. It's so scary how like cruel people are cruel. I don't know. Asylums just make me so sad. I can't think about it for too long.
Okay. So now chapter 5, we're in the murder house.
Murder mansion. Before you see the murder mansion though, you find 4 fingers have been sliced off and are just lying on the ground.
I did not find
Did you
that
not find those?
first.
Well, they were, and a raccoon ate the ring off one of the fingers. And you need to go find where the raccoon is to get the ring to open. Can't make this shit up. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So you get to the mansion, you walk in, you find, well, in the stable before the mansion, you find a horse that's severely dehydrated. And you can go and give it water and like save it. So that was good. But yes, you walk in the house, you find servants killed. You have to like reconstruct this whole scene, and you find out that a servant boy, who's the entire reason, or one of the main reasons why you're in this house in the first place, he saw the murders happening and just hid in the room. And it had been in the room of this house with murdered people in it for like 4 days without food, water, not leaving the room. Like, ugh, horrific. Anyway, but so the owner of this...
This is probably gross of me, but I was like, the room doesn't look like he's been stuck in here for 5 days without food, water, or a bathroom. Just saying. Where did he pee and poop? I'm just saying.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's all.
So the owner of this house is a wealthy man, and yes, like Gabe said, we have to track him because he's not one of the murdered people, and so you find 4 of his fingers. You have to go find a ring to unlock various safes and whatever in the house to find out like where he went. There's a nice prostitute lady who he loves, and you have to like,
that's Lucy
and get her involved. And then there's this woman named Champagne, and she gets involved, and she gives you a boat. So then you chapter 6,
go to the bayou
and have to like paddle through, do a lot of rowing. Watson's back must be ripped because he was just rocking and rolling.
God.
And there were gators everywhere.
Realistically, it was probably like 4 hours of rowing. Like, it was actually ridiculous how much they did. Okay, when you got to the gators, did you let the gators eat you? Because I was so sick of rowing. I was like, just eat me. And I rowed into the gators to be eaten. I just was so done.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, but that part was wild because the gators were hungry, and so you had to like jump out of the boat and shoot down hanging bodies that were just like hanging in sacks on a tree. You had to shoot them down so that the gators would like go and
they weren't
eat
hanging
their
in
bodies.
Sacks for me. They weren't hanging
maybe
in sacks
they weren't
for me.
in
They were
sacks.
just naked. They're just naked
people
bodies.
Just people hanging from trees.
It's so horrific. It's so grotesque. I was totally not prepared for this. Like, I feel like I needed a warning at the beginning of this entire game about what all I was going to be
It was just so
experiencing.
Resident Evil vibes, like the whole
You know,
way.
it really was.
Like as soon
Chapter
as I
6
walked into the
really
murder
was.
house, I was like, okay, this is very Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, it's Resident Evil. Yeah, dude, I felt that actually when I walked into the house, even before seeing the dead bodies. I was like, this is giving me those vibes. Yes, yes, I so see that. I will say, as ridiculous as the rowing was, I felt like that was, maybe not elegantly done, but like I felt like it was a really
Mm-hmm.
well done. I don't know what you would call it, chain of events.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that
Because
part
you had a
of
puzzle
it.
that was telling you to follow first the
The lilies,
lilies, but what were they called? They were the
white something.
They were Death's messengers. So you had
Oh,
to
you mean
learn
what they were
that.
calling them, not the real thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So we had to follow lilies and then fire torches, and then crows
Yeah.
and whatever. Anyway, so you end up at this.
You had to follow crows? Honestly, at the ending part of that scene, I have no idea how I finally ended up where, but I did make it to where I needed to be.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That you get to this big bonfire where you have to again figure out the chain of events and figure out.
There's people chained to like crosses, not chained, but tied to them upside down. And honestly, I think most of them had been like a pig, where when you drain a pig's blood, you hang it upside down.
There's a lot of blood sacrifice happening.
Yeah.
And so you get into this stone room. Holmes has another episode where we go further into our little madness thing, where we go in the green stone area and get to do more puzzles. And
yes,
then we find the rich guy whose fingers had been chopped off. We rescue him, bring him to safety, and return home. But in that room, we find some books and documents that were for the rituals that were happening. And we use them, take them back to the bookseller that we met at the beginning to translate.
I made a note for that chapter. Still haven't found Mayori. The servant for chapter 1.
I was like, he was the one that Sherlock was talking to, that was hanging upside down the cross, that Sherlock was talking.
No. That was, oh, is that who that was supposed to be? I thought that was supposed to be the guy who had his fingers cut off.
The guy whose fingers were cut off was the one that Watson saved.
Oh, you're right. Was he supposed to be Arneson? No, Arneson is the one we saved.
He saved.
Is that who that was supposed to be?
That's what I thought.
Oh. Well, that was one of my complaints, was that we never found the Mayori guy. We never got resolution to that, but I guess maybe we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's the only person he could really have been. I'm shook by that. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
That was my interpretation of events. Anyway, so we save Mr. Arneson. We bring him back to his lady love. We go back to London, and we show the bookseller this book.
Barnes. Yeah.
And so he starts reading through, and he starts to get like a little excited about Cthulhu. And we're like, did you leave the book with him, or did you take it?
Oh, I totally left it with him because I knew he was already descending into the madness.
No.
And I was like, here you go,
what
brother.
What happened?
You're welcome, Cthulhu. Well, nothing happened, but you totally know that he definitely, like, the book. Okay, obviously, it's never really fully confirmed if they're supernatural in the game or not. But I think it would be safe to say that that book had demons inside of it. For better, we'll just call that, had demons inside of it, and they were like Like, it was compelling you to read the book, and it probably brainwashes you. And I was like, you know what, brother? We all float down here.
I took it away from him, and I was just like, no, you don't need this. But you do get to do a side quest in this
I'm a psycho.
chapter because
Yeah.
you run into Mycroft, and Watson does this whole hissy fit with Mycroft because he's just like, you work for the government sends people to die in wars. Just like has this whole thing going on. And Mycroft is like, hey, Sherlock's really not doing well. Do you want to go and check on this informant that I have? And so you do, and he's been like watching the embassy. You find his body, and he has been watching the embassy, and there's a whole list of notes written about like this person has come and gone, this person, and then there's an M written at the bottom of the sheet. And
I thought Moriarty.
that's what I figured.
But then after confronting Mycroft and the way he was sketchy about it, I was like, is it supposed to somehow stand for Mycroft? But that would make no sense. Like, I still think of Moriarty.
I think Moriarty, especially. Yeah, well, we'll talk about it in a second, but the there's a reference later to the final problem is drawing near. The cult leader mentions to Holmes that the final problem is drawing near, and the final problem is the Sherlock Holmes story where Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes go over the waterfall.
Oh, I forgot about
So that was my, like, this M for Moriarty, and then the final problem draws near. The two of those combined made me go, okay, so we're setting up for the last game.
For the next game. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Yeah, I actually liked that. I felt like that. I was like, okay, so this is the Nancy Drew teaser for the next game. Got it. I did appreciate that.
Yeah, so chapter 7, we're just back in London. Watson is running around getting answers to things and figuring out who the cult leader is and where they're doing.
And where are the sacrifices happening.
So that we can go stop them. So, chapter 8.
Then go to Scotland. Because we haven't been enough places.
And also we're in a boat. We're rowing our boat to Scotland. I know we didn't row all the way, but like the end of it is rowing our boat to Scotland. And I was like, what is Watson doing?
Watson is ripped, my guy.
Lord almighty.
Because here's the thing, right? I think, isn't it canon that like Watson has an issue with one of his legs?
Yes.
So he just skips leg day and solely does arm day. That was my thought process. Solely arm and back day. And that was why he could do all of this rowing. I think they probably rowed most of the way, though, because I don't know how they would. Well, it was only to a lighthouse.
So hopefully
So
they
took probably a big did boat row the entire way
nearby.
No, they probably rowed the entire way from the mainland of wherever in Scotland to the boathouse, to the lighthouse. Yeah. Bless them.
Anyway, so we show up at this lighthouse. There's a servant who has fallen to or has killed himself. Don't know. Yes? No?
Well, it's the guy from chapter 5
who had chopped off the 4 fingers.
Yes, he had gone crazy. He'd gone descended into madness, and you find the letter, like one of his notes, basically saying that he doesn't remember killing all those people and doing all that. Like, that's like a black spot in his memory.
And see, that's why I think that
implying that like Cthulhu took over,
was involved with that.
Yeah,
and that's what I think that Edelweiss, they're injecting people with this memory stuff that will remove their memories, and so you just kind of like keep giving people the memory stuff.
Wait, they're injecting people? I thought she was removing memories by cutting out parts of their brain. I didn't realize
that was like part of the experimentation of like finding out which part of their brain has those kind of memories, and then from there figuring out how to like target those areas particularly.
gotcha,
That was
gotcha.
my understanding of what was going on. But we do
I thought he just had too many Cthulhu tentacles in his brain, and so he was just done for.
also possible. But we go into this cavern, which is dark. You spend time like running through the cavern, calling for Holmes and seeing his little um
Oh, it's like
sound.
echolocation kind of
Yeah,
thing.
his
Yeah.
sound circles coming at you, and then you have to
Hmm.
like go veering off, and then you are in these two chambers where like you have to do things, and then Watson does things, and then Holmes does things, and then Watson does things, and
Did you explore the caverns before that part? Morbid curiosity of me really wanted to explore all of of that cavern area, but I was like, "Ugh, I probably shouldn't do that, so I didn't do it. But if I ever go back for a second playthrough, I was like, is it all
all the
different?
wrong
Like, what
ones.
happens? Where does it go?
I
Yeah,
went in a
well, just
couple of the
yeah.
wrong ones just because like I'm bad at the game. And there was never anything to like
What
click
happens?
on, but it was, there'd be like a pedestal with a skull on it or a pedestal with something
Yeah,
else. So like there wasn't like I didn't find anything exciting, but
dang it,
there were things.
that's so tragic. I was super concerned. I was like, what if I miss something not going through these? But this also feels like a moment where maybe I shouldn't. But then the part you were talking about after that, where you're switching back and forth, it gave me such Portal 2
Mm,
co-op
mm-hmm,
vibes.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, I love this. Except you're both people. You don't have to rely on another idiot to help you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's all you, the power.
It's just your two brain cells instead of your brain cells and someone else's. And I thought that was probably one of my oof. It's tied up there with the Descent into Madness puzzles. Like those were what I would truly call the puzzles of the game. Everything else was kind of lackluster for me. It was like, okay.
And so after we solve all the little puzzles in the dark and we kind of escape into the lighthouse itself, we find that we find all of these people who have like sacks over their heads, and they're just kind of little zombies at that point. Um, and we find out that there are like big gemstone
Obelisks.
yeah,
I think they're obelisks. Is that what they're?
big gemstone
They look like
obelisks.
jade.
Yeah. And you have to
They looked like jade and phosphorescent goo from a ghost had a baby.
mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like their larva. So you have to
Yeah.
like turn these special lights on them,
Laser
and then you can
beams.
stab them with an
Obsidian
obsidian
knife.
knife to
And they
destroy them. And
explode.
then all the zombies are kind of like, "What's going on?" Because it kind of releases them from their mothness. Because they're kind of moths. They're just puttering around the lights. And then you go
Yeah.
up, and now you're surrounded by them, all these people with gunny sacks over their heads who are jumping to their death. And Watson is running around trying to get rid of all these gemstones to like turn off the summoning, and Holmes is up
I have
top.
to say, for that part, when you're Watson trying to destroy the gemstones, I was so sick and tired of doing the stupid QTEs that weren't even like necessary good QTEs. I was like, is the whole point of this to add length to your game so if people who aren't used to doing this shit mess up, they just have to keep doing it? I think I maybe messed up once, but I don't even know if I did mess up. QTs were like whatever to me, but I was so like it's overused because at first you have two QTs, then they're like three, and then they're like four, but it's like multiple times because you have to go back and forth between. And especially like if you're trying to figure out what to do, then you're doing it that much more. And I was like, if you want to make us do it the first time, okay, sure, I'll respect and understand that. But if I have to do it every single goddamn time I go through there, it just got old. And I was like, it just feels wasted. Like the
Mm.
mechanic isn't even fun and interesting anymore. It's just like gross. Why do I have to do this? Anyways,
Anyways,
Sherlock's up top.
So Sherlock's up
Mhm.
top talking to the cult leader, who it's very spooky scary. So the cult leader is very like, we're calling Cthulhu, this will be a good time. Sherlock is just trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out like, did you drug me? What, like, logically trying to figure out why he's having visions, why he's descending into madness like this. And the guy is saying, we've stood here before, Mr. Holmes. Another you, another me. And so it's kind of this
I
concept
thought
that
that was a
like
really powerful phrase.
this happens routinely, and like there are many different
Cycle.
timelines where the two of them are standing next to each other summoning this together. And so it was just a really
I felt like I felt like that part could be taken figuratively or literally. So it could maybe be exact like reincarnations of them, or it could just be taken figuratively in the sense that there's always someone coming up trying to stop it and there's always someone trying to do it. You know what I mean? Like they were more of like the representation of whoever that person was. You know, does that make sense what I'm saying?
so it's not them as a
I
person, it's a
wasn't
concept.
Yes, the concept, yes. I felt like it could have been taken either way. I didn't feel like it seemed like it leaned more one way or the other. But if
He
I feel
seemed
like
to
if I was
know
in
Sherlock though.
right, which is what I mean is like I feel like if I was inclined to believe, I would assume he meant reincarnation
Or just like timeline
or
diversion.
timelines or whatever. Yeah, like the Marvel
I've
freaking
been watching Loki, so
superverse.
I'm all about like the timeline dispersion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
anyway, so if you do it right, then Watson will destroy all of the big bad gemstones, and so the summoning will stop. There's a huge tidal wave that is coming. The cult leader jumps off the tower or the lighthouse and dies. And Watson has to drag Sherlock kicking and screaming to safety, I guess. Sherlock is just like, I want to see it. I have to know what's going on. Because he,
I wish a face would have appeared in the giant
that would have been
wave, to
so
be
good.
honest with
But
you.
I, at the same time, no, because the whole point is we don't know what's true. And I feel like if there was a face there, it would have kind of led
I wanted
us.
the face. I hated that it was so ambiguous. I felt like there's too many questions that weren't answered.
Hmm.
I didn't like it. I didn't like the ending. I was very unsatisfied. I wanted actually this is what bothered me. This is what I really wanted. Okay, so there's a different Cthulhu game I've played, and you get
Call
multiple
of.
endings. I think it was Call of Cthulhu, I think is what I'm thinking of. And there's multiple endings based off of how far you descend into the madness. If you descend too far, it is full on Cthulhu's freaking real. The Eldritch God comes to life and kills everyone. Okay, maybe not quite that dramatic, but like
Pretty
that's
close.
the thought. If you don't descend far enough, Cthulhu's not real. Is essentially how it is. And so like one of the endings, I think there's a couple other endings, but like one ending is more canon, and then the others are just like I don't know, other interpretations, I suppose you could say, or whatever. That's what I wanted. That's what I think this game should have had. I think there should have been the canon ending of whatever way, or if it was the ambiguous, okay, maybe the current ending is the canon, right? We say it's just ambiguous, you don't know. Okay? But then there should have been like if I found everything about the Cthulhu stuff and I like full tail went into it, I wanted Cthulhu to show up in the wave or like some
Hmm.
tentacle or like just something. Or you don't descend and you stay probably true to Sherlock, where he's like, no, there's always a logical. Because me and Wolf kept comparing this to the Hounds of Baskerville, right? Where
Hmm.
there's like the fumes or whatever that makes it seem supernatural, but it's not. And you almost believe it, maybe it is supernatural up until the end where you're like, well, of course not. This is Sherlock Holmes, right?
Yeah.
So that was another thing that bothered me. Whereas I feel like it wasn't true to Sherlock, because if you're true to Sherlock, it would have been there's always a logical explanation. So that kind of bothered me too. Go ahead.
I'm just kind of laughing because you have similar feelings about Nancy Drew, the show, where they bring in the paranormal, and you're like, this is a Nancy Drew show. Why is there paranormal?
No, I told you I liked that they did it.
I know, but it threw you off at first.
Well, of course it did, because that's not true to Nancy Drew. But
Mm-hmm.
I also appreciated the different interpretation of
Mm-hmm.
it. However, the other games in that series, I think had been more true to Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
So when you,
Yeah, this is definitely a standalone situation, which is why I
I
think
think,
this one was the Kickstarter of like, remake this game. Like, we want to play more of this game. Like,
right.
it was listed. There was some group that listed it in the
Here's,
top 100 games ever.
oh, that's crazy. Here's where I would say it's different from Nancy Drew. Nancy Drew full sent. Full sent said supernatural's real, okay? And I was like, okay, I can get behind that. If we're going to fully go in there and say that's it, that's what this
Mm-hmm.
is. I get that. I respect that. I like that. That's fun, that's fresh, it's new. Why not? Because honestly, I believe in the paranormal. I think there are dark energies out there and real bad. So like that's totally fine with me. My issue is this one is they never full sent it one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it bothered me because I'm like it just seems false. Like we either say, okay, the supernatural is possible, or we stay true to Sherlock, and in the Sherlock sense, like that never happens. There's always a logical explanation, just like Scooby Doo and stuff. I think that's why it bothered me. Is like they just never fully committed.
Yeah.
I wanted the commitment. Either give me the tentacles or don't. What? I was thinking about you though when I was thinking in my head on stream how I felt about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking about the Nancy Drew stuff and what we
Mm-hmm.
talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"What? Why are you smiling like that? You have something to say. Just say it. It's
No,
fine."
no, no, no. But so after the big wave, then the game ends with um, Holmes just lying on a couch. So they both survived, and Holmes is just like not doing well. He's just like, Watson, are you okay with like living with somebody who's dying, basically, or who's going mad? And Watson's like, sure, bud. Yeah, that's okay. And Holmes is like, oh, lucky me. And it's just like having a crisis. And this is when Watson is looking at the Black Edelweiss stuff and is
Oh, is
giving what
that what he
that's
drugs him with?
yes, to remove that memory of the trauma from him.
Oh my
He took that
god,
memory
I
away
didn't
because it was
even
driving him mad.
connect that. I thought it was like a pain medication or sleeping
That was the
medication or
Edelweiss
something.
stuff to like remove the trauma
I thought
memory.
he was just like, don't worry, bud. I'll give you that restless night's sleep. Like I'll just knock you out so hard you sleep. Oh boy.
Yeah, because he was just like, Holmes is gonna die. Like, this is gonna kill him. So, like, I'm gonna take this memory away from him. And that's why he's being so
So
dramatic
that
while
makes
looking
me
at that and being like, I don't want to have to do this to my best friend, but I can't.
That's why he looks so
I can't
guilty.
watch him
Okay.
do this. I can't watch him go through this.
I was thinking like when like when they drug someone so much that they're just medicated, like you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like that's just what they are. That's what I thought he was doing to Holmes, and I thought that's why he felt so sad and guilty. And I was like, dude, I would feel really sad and guilty doing that to someone too. Well, I don't think I would do it to someone, but you know what I mean. But that's honestly, they're both equally bad. Actually, I feel like they're very equal. I'm not sure one's worse than the other because
Both of them,
if you're
yeah, the intention is the same.
doped up and medicated, yeah. Oof. That still makes the ending even more unsatisfactory to me though,
Mm-hmm.
because if he's descending
Mm-hmm.
into this madness, is it because Cthulhu is real, or is it because of something happened? Because they kept referencing, it started with a C. I don't remember what it's called, but they kept referencing that something like this has happened
To like
before.
his sibling.
They mentioned his sibling, but it was something else. It was like a place or
Oh,
A
yeah,
person
yeah.
or something. It started with a
Well,
C.
and
Can't,
that
I
might have
just
been
a previous game. I don't
a
know.
previous game, but it might have been like also, an asylum where his mom was or something like that because it had that level
Oh,
of
that's
trauma
true.
associated with it.
So then there's another thing. Is he going crazy because of his mom? Is it genetics? I don't know.
Right.
I don't like it. You know what? If they okay, here's I'll re-amend it. If they make the next game and they answer these questions in the next game, I'll amend my review for the ending of this game. If we don't get those answers, it's shite. It's a crack of shite. It's a crock of shite. That's all I'm saying. They're too wussy to commit to one way or the other.
Well, is it wussy or is it allowing
Okay,
readers to take what they
people who
want?
think that's artistic, hot take, I hate you. I think you're too wuss to commit to one way or the other. And so your cop out is I'll let the reader finish the story themselves.
I did want to, since we're talking about the developers,
I'm sorry, I know
uh,
that's a hot take.
this is from a company called Frogwares, and they basically do all of the Sherlock Holmes games. Uh, so they've got quite the whole series. We did want to highlight that they are Ukrainian and Irish developers. So they have a little blurb at the beginning of the game just saying, hey, we've got a lot of Ukrainian employees and a lot of Ukrainian
Yeah,
people who worked on this game. So, all this love to the Ukrainian people. So I just wanted to highlight that piece.
we should. We should. Wait, you can but you'd have to say how you felt about the game. You never said how you felt about the game or the ending. You just let me talk.
I really enjoyed the game. Um, I know that there weren't like Nancy Drew style puzzles. I liked that there was a lot of just kind of logic that you had to kind of just do detective work instead of puzzle solving, if that makes sense. So you had to put the pieces together of like what happened versus Nancy Drew
And
games, which
deduce.
are you don't really deduce what happened, you
I
know?
was gonna say this. It was more motivation based in the Sherlock Holmes, like figuring out motivations and reason. Yeah, I agree.
So
I like that
reasoning,
too.
yeah, reasoning versus puzzling.
Reasoning.
So I really enjoyed that.
I think I expected more puzzles, and
Mm,
I wish I didn't have that expectation going in. I don't know why I thought there were going to be actual puzzles, except that I think, says it's a puzzle game, and I was like, well, this isn't a puzzle game.
yeah. The
Go ahead.
the
Sorry, keep
part
going.
that I didn't love about the game, and I don't know if that's just like because I just wasn't paying attention to it, but there were a lot of things where you had to like have the right clue pinned in order to try to converse with people about it, or you had to click into something and then
Research.
research it. And so I would always forget to like take the clue and actually research it in order to launch into other things. So the clue portal where you had to interact with the clues in order to interact with the outside world, I would it would take me way too long to realize I had to go in there and do that. And so I would
I
anyway,
sh-
so I struggled a
Go
bit with
ahead.
that.
I struggled with that in like the first couple chapters, and then I realized what it was trying to get me to do, and then I was like, "Oh, okay, I understand." And it would tell you if you should do it because it had the
Mm-hmm.
pin at the top. If it had the pin at the top, that meant you're supposed to like do whatever and whatever. And I was like, so every now and then I was like, okay, I guess I'll just freaking look at my evidence if it's got this, this, and this. But then sometimes, and then I feel like I started to kind of internally know like what maybe
Mm.
I should be pinning based off of how it had gone previously. But I could see where that would be really confused. I don't know. I don't feel like there was a good enough tutorial or explanation for it
I got
to figure it out. Like you just had to figure
I
it out.
got really stuck in the house after I had put all of the pieces together,
Hmm.
because there's one piece of evidence that says, "Hey, there's a reference to a lock in the study." And I would go up there and I
Hmm.
could not see anything. And it wasn't until I looked through the evidence and saw something that wanted to be pinned, and I pinned it. That then, when I went into the study, then all of a sudden I could look at the wall was calling to me, and I could look at that. And
Oh yeah,
then,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
had already figured out a raccoon stole the thing, a raccoon did this. So I had figured out all of the pieces, but I had to be pinning the right thing in order for the game to say, great, we understand that you have to do this and put these things together. And now you can go and do this. So, like,
Yeah.
I would get stuck on things like that just because I didn't
Yeah.
realize the game or what the game needed to
You to do
see
to
in
show.
order to let me progress.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, because you didn't need to just pin it to talk to people. You had to pin it to properly investigate certain
To turn your
scenes too,
concentration
which
on,
is kind of
it wouldn't tell you there was a concentration piece unless you were pinning the right thing. It's like, what's
yeah.
going on?
Okay. Okay,
So
guy. Okay.
I would say that was my kind of only gripe with the game.
That's fair. That's fair.
But that's more on me
It
not paying
was
attention. So I take full responsibility for that.
I hmm, I liked the game.
I liked the game. I thought the graphics were really
I
good.
don't
The vibes were very spooky, scary. The storylines very tragic and upsetting.
I wish it was longer for how much it was worth.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm fully convinced it was worth how much it was.
Well, I unlocked a bunch of
Because base
bonus
price was
content.
$40. You unlocked bonus content?
Yeah, like every once in a while it would be like, oh, you just unlocked bonus content, so I have to like go and find out what that means.
Well, it was the outfits. You realized you could change what you were wearing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a silver vest that like was very low cut and showed a lot of chest, and I was
Oh,
like,
yes, yes.
you will be in that, good sir, thank you.
Yes. Yes. I think that's what that
Okay.
was the outfits. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No, you're
I don't
probably right.
remember seeing a new thing on the main menu. So, I yeah, I don't know.
All right.
It was good.
So, our female developer spotlight for this week is Joyce Weisbecker. And she considers herself the first indie developer because she was a contractor. Um, Many people consider her the first known commercial female game developer, which is a title or a it's a title she doesn't necessarily want to claim. I understand that, but at the same time, like, own it, I guess. She was born in 1958 in New Jersey, and her father, Joseph Weisbecker, was an engineer at Radio Corporation of America. So the RCA was founded in 1919. It was a leader in electronics as well as just communications in general in the US. And it was really, really, really big for about 50 years. And they worked a lot on radio receivers. They created the first nationwide American radio network, and they were super involved in TV as well as the development of color television specifically. So, radio and TV, they really rocked and rolled with that for 3 decades or so. And then in the 60s, they moved into computers and PCs. And so Joseph Weisbecker was really on the front lines of that and was building his own computers at times when no one was doing that. And he was the architect of an 8-bit microprocessor, which then he was developing
Can I
games for. And so he was just a pioneer.
I just want to say my grandpa was like that too. He built their first computer that they ever had and their the first TV, and not like just like built, like ordered, like
Yeah,
full
yeah,
on
yeah.
built.
That's so
And
cool.
I isn't that I'm like, I wish I was as handy as Grandpa Richard. May he rest in peace. But it makes me laugh because my dad is very much not a handyman, and
Mm.
like his dad was like full on, and he worked for NASA too for a while.
Mm. But your dad
Bless
is
him.
in tech,
Anyways,
so
yeah. My dad is in tech, but my grandpa was like a handyman. Like I mean, my grandpa worked for NASA, not my dad,
yeah,
but
yeah.
he, could build things and just was very, like, he took care, like, he wouldn't need to call a plumber
Mm-hmm.
or do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? My dad can't do any of those things. Bless him. If we have to do that kind of stuff in the house, I'm the one who does it. And he's kind of just there logicking it out with me and like holding the flashlight. And I'm
Mm-mm.
like, okay.
He's a project manager.
But
It's okay.
I'm so he is. That's something that, like, whenever I think about it, I just am like, that's so
It's
crazy
so
that he was
crazy.
smart enough to just do that. Because like when we build PCs today, we order 10 parts and like screw them together and
Right.
call it a day. But like he would like made, all the different parts and stuff.
Like
Anyways, go ahead.
welded them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
No, it's
exactly.
very
Sorry.
bizarre. But yeah, so he basically was just pushing the RCA, trying to be like, hey, let's do this and let's do that. And the RCA was kind of like allowing him to do some of it and just kind of like pushing back on things, which would then send him back to his workshop where then he would develop something else. And so he was just really front running this for RCA. Um, and another thing I just wanted to highlight is that he also devised stage illusions for local magicians. So, like, he just wanted to create things. He was just a creator, which I love for him. But yes,
I was gonna say I love that for
he had
him.
two daughters, and one of them, Joyce, really took to computing, and so he would be building all these computers, and she would be practicing programming on them. And uh, when a quote from her is when she was talking about programming and she was talking about she was learning about programming, she was like, this is really cool puzzles. It's that puzzle nature. It either gets you or it doesn't. um and it got
I
Joyce.
think that's how my dad feels.
mm,
Sorry. I think that's how my dad feels about IT and programming. I don't get it. I just hate it. I hate programming so much.
you have to be in the right mindset or have to be the right person where it's just like, oh, logically I can kind of see the language and put all of these pieces, but you have to have it in your brain.
You have to have the brain. You do. You really do. And my professor, I think I've talked about the programming class I had to take. And my professor talked about that. He's also worked for NASA. And he was like, you either get it or you don't. And it's not a fault of you. You just either have the brain for it, you don't. And I definitely, I don't. Like, I have to be able to physically see it, touch it, lick it. No, I'm just kidding. Like it, but like, and that's why I'm like,
You like
I was like, Dad,
tangibles.
this is what, yeah, I suppose. I suppose you could say that. But I was like, Dad, this is why we're a good team. I do it, you think it. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah.
That
I was like,
visualization aspect. Yeah.
mhm. I can visualize certain things, but it's the like when I can't even see the outcome.
Mm.
Because the thing with programming is like you never see an actual physical outcome. I mean, you see the lines of code, but I don't feel like I don't know. Anyways, that's
It's
all.
not a direct, like,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, Joyce graduated from high school in 1976, when she was 18, and her dad asked if she wanted to contract for the company he worked for and program games for them because they had like created a console and he was already making games for it, but he knew that she was really enjoying doing like programming and playing, so he was getting her involved. So truly kudos to her dad who was just like, hey, my kid wants to do this, and come on. And this was in the 70s that this is happening. So she developed a couple games that she didn't get paid for. She was just kind of creating them, called Snake Race, and then one called Jackpot, which were just included in like the computer's manual as just type in programs of practicing things. And then in August of 1976, her first commercial game that she actually would get paid for was called TV Schoolhouse 1. And her dad loved education. So he was just like, hey, make this kind of quiz game a little kind of like Classroom Jeopardy in a way, where it was kind of like, oh, here are some educational questions, and then you have to answer it and whatever. And she was paid $250 for that game, which was about $1,330 in today's money. So that was the first game that she got paid for. And then she developed a couple other games, Speedway and Tag, which were really kind of basic games where they were kind of Speedway. I think they both were just games that you would kind of race around. And they were on it was a combo cartridge game. So neither one of them was on their own cartridge. They were both sitting on there together. And so she did that for RCA as well. And then there was a build it yourself PC that her dad created called the Cosmac VIP. And so she programmed a few games for that as well. Slide, Some Fun, and Sequence Shoot for that. And that was in 1977. So she was 18 and 19 when she developed these, pretty basic games for very basic computers. And then she graduated, or then she went off to college, and that's all that she did. She kind of spent a summer or two creating some games for this company her dad worked for, and then majored in computer engineering as well as actuarial science, and spent 20 years doing as an actuary, and then got some more advanced degrees 20 years later in electrical engineering and computer science, and then spent the rest of her career working as a radar signal processing engineer. And she had decided that, quote, you look around and you say, okay, do I really want to live at home and spend every night duplicating cassettes and going down to the post office and making photocopies of the instruction manual and mailing them off to people? That was the computer game industry at the time. So that's why she decided, I enjoy doing this, but I am going to go and do like quote unquote a real career instead. But there was an interview at Fast Company because people really started talking about her in, I guess 2011 is really when people started going, oh, wait, hold on, she might be the first female commercial developer. And so according to Fast Company, she has become interested in game development again. I don't know if that's just because like people have been talking to her and spending time with her and being like, hey, tell us about your experiences. But she said she's trying to gear up to do something really interesting, AI and computer assisted animation, because she wants to do story-based cooperative games. So that was a fairly recent quote from her. So we might see some more Joyce games coming down the line at some point, which would be a really cool.
That should be really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good for her. I always sound super sarcastic when I say that for these female developers, but I'd like to say I genuinely feel that when I say that.
So if you have a developer, game, or side quest that you want us to talk about, or any local anonymized gossip you simply must tell someone, just let us know on Twitter at nosidequests, or just email us at nosidequests@gmail.com. And if you'd like to see our lovely faces during the podcast, we do post each episode with a video to our I Don't Believe in Side Quests YouTube channel. You can find Gabe at nenyaadamas on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram. And me, Lauren, at sweetie_patat on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Hope you have a great week. Bye.
Rock on, Cthulhu.